Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Ireland, and I'm a GTD coach. And I want to talk about an integral part of everyone's GTD practices that I think most of us struggle with from time to time, which is the weekly review. My experience of the weekly review in terms of how it's promoted, it's kind of like very black and white. It's sort of like pass fail, like you're either doing your GTD weekly review or you're not. And like a lot of people can judge themselves about kind of that kind of black and white pass fail. So, in my experience as a coach, there can be some nuance to it. The first question most people ask me about their weekly review is when to do it. Like, I don't have a crystal ball, and I don't have like this magic formula. However, I do find that it really doesn't matter when we do our weekly review as long as two things are true. One is that it's like a time that we have some semblance of assurance that we can defend it. I see so many of our clients, they put their weekly review like at Friday, at like 10 a.m. when they have a staff meeting every Friday at 10 a.m. So you don't want to go into it kind of with that like kind of high level of likelihood that something's going to bump it or interrupt it or override it. Second is that we need energy for it. It's cognition required. So I find what a lot of people do is they kind of push it like till the evening or something like that, and then they just kind of they're too tired. Clients have heard me tell my story with this. So I always wanted to do my weekly review on Friday morning. Like that seemed really ideal. Do my weekly review on Friday morning, kind of wrap up loose ends, and go into my weekend. Well, I just find, I don't know if just being on the West Coast or something, but I couldn't really protect it. And then when I looked at my calendar, like my late afternoons and evenings, I tend to be open, but I don't really have like the full cognitive juice required. So I moved it to Saturday morning, which isn't ideal for a lot of people, but it was for me. It's like it's in the morning. I have the full force of my cognition, and it's less likely to get bumped by something. It took me a while to figure that out, but those are like what I find, kind of criteria that you want to be thinking about. Second is that we want to treat the weekly review as like the review. So in the checklist, I know it says get clear and get current. We want to think about our weekly review as really that middle section, getting current. Getting clear is really what we want to be doing throughout the week as part of our like threefold nature of work, daily defining time. If we if we have some kind of accumulation at the end of the week, my experience is it's better to separate getting clear from getting current so that you don't end up with like a 3-hour weekly review. I often have like some residue, even as a GTD coach. So my strategy for years has been Friday afternoon. It's less likely that I have coaching calls or meetings. I kind of get a little competitive where I want to get all my inboxes to zero, and then Saturday morning come back and do the review. The get current / review part of the weekly review. So it's really okay to separate those steps. And oftentimes it's just much easier to kind of bite off and chew in that way. So the third thing that I see show up is that people kind of treat it as like all or nothing. I did this for years, and I was like this with a lot of aspects in my life. It's like the inner headmaster. It's like if I wasn't doing the full workout, I couldn't really count it. And I don't really do that anymore. So like a little bit of the weekly review is like a workout for me, like a little bit's better than nothing. So, we get pinched from time to time. If I have 20 minutes, like I'm going to review my previous calendar, upcoming calendar, and scan through my action list, just to make sure there's nothing upcoming like due date wise or anything. So like a little is better than nothing. And then finally, one of the things I also see people tending to do is using the weekly review as like catching up on doing work. So like all of a sudden, like what started as a 1 hour or a weekly review is now like 2 or 3 hours into it because people were reviewing their action list and actually going into those tasks. So, my recommendation, if you have energy on the back end of your review and you want to get some of those tasks done, like by all means, but don't like dilute or interrupt your weekly review. The weekly review is designed, it's like a pit stop. Like once a week, we just get everything like squeaky clean and current and then kind of move into what's next. So you don't want to like do work while you're trying to review your work, if that makes sense. I hope this helps. Feel free to leave a comment or ask a question. Thanks so much.
For more GTD resources, please visit gettingthingsdone.com and David Allen's YouTube channel. For more information, please email us at info@gtdfocus.com or visit our website gtdfocus.com/contact.